Welcome to this Executive Explainer. Listen, if you're tuning in, you already have a rock-solid background in accounting and financial management. You know the numbers. You know exactly how to balance a sheet. So as CMA candidates stepping into the strategic arena, we are actually going to skip all the basic finance today. Instead, we're taking the elevator straight up to the C-suite. Think of me not just as your host, but as your professor of corporate strategy for this session. We are going to focus purely on high-level strategic decision-making, competitive analysis, and how you actually apply this stuff in the real world to absolutely crush Section A, Unit 1 of your CSCA exam. Okay, let's quickly glance at our agenda. We're kicking off with the executive strategy mindset, moving into core concepts and comparisons, exploring the strategic coherence story, looking at real-world C-suite decisions, tackling those crucial CSCA exam essentials, and wrapping up with a unit summary and reflection. All right, let's jump right in.
Section 1. The Executive Strategy Mindset, or the C-Suite Blueprint.
So why does this specific unit matter so much? Because strategy isn't just some theoretical exercise you read about in a textbook. It is the intense, daily reality for CEOs, CFOs, strategy consultants, and boards of directors. When you sit in the C-suite, you aren't just reporting on the past, you are architecting the future. Literally, strategy is the architecture of competitive advantage. Think of this unit as the bedrock foundation upon which all your future competitive analysis in the CSCA syllabus is going to be built. If this foundation is cracked, the entire building falls. You know, without a sound strategy, a company's financial resources are honestly just money waiting to be burned. You really have to understand the blueprint before you can build the skyscraper.
Moving on to Section 2, Core Concepts and Comparisons, where we're building the vocabulary.
Now, we are not just going to sit here and read definitions. We're going to learn by contrasting similar ideas, which is exactly how you need to think to pass the exam and to lead in a real organization. Let's start with resources. These are the tangible and intangible assets an organization controls. Tangible? That means cash, real estate, factories. Intangible means your patents, brand equity, proprietary data. But here is the absolutely critical executive insight. Resources are just the raw materials of strategy. Simply possessing massive resources doesn't automatically solve your business problems. I mean, just ask any well-funded startup that crashed and burned because they had all the money in the world but no idea what to do with it.
And that brings us right here. Notice the clear distinction between resources, which is what we possess, and capabilities, which is what we can actually do with them. This is the transition from static assets to dynamic action. For example, you might have a team of world-class engineers. That's a great resource. But your ability to rapidly integrate them into cross-functional teams to launch a new product in 6 months? Now that is a capability.
Next up, let's contrast core competencies versus distinctive competencies. A core competency is simply what we do well, but a distinctive competency, that's what we do better than our competitors. Think of it like a marathon. Every single runner in the race has the core competency of being able to physically run 26 miles. But the person who actually wins the race has a distinctive competency. Maybe it's a superior VO2 max or just a way better pacing strategy. Do not fall into the trap of assuming that just because you have a core competency, you automatically have a competitive edge. It doesn't work like that.
Okay, let's look at mission versus vision. Your mission defines who you are, what you do, and who you serve today, right now. Your vision is your aspirational destination. It's where you are going tomorrow. Organizations desperately need both of these to prevent strategic drift and to align their workforce. The mission keeps the lights on today, while the vision ensures you're building the right kind of power plant for tomorrow.
Let's pause for a second here. If you were the CEO, what would actually happen to shareholder value if your organization just completely ignored the difference between mission and vision? Well, if you only have a mission, you stagnate and eventually get disrupted. If you only have a vision, you end up burning cash on pipe dreams while your core business collapses out from under you. Shareholder value gets destroyed in either scenario. As a leader, you absolutely must balance present execution with future aspiration.
Now, notice how planning cascades down this hierarchy. Strategic plans happen up in the C-suite for the long term. Tactical plans happen at the VP or director level for the medium term. And operational plans happen at the managerial level for the short term. This shows exactly how high-level strategy translates down to daily on-the-ground tasks. If the C-suite decides to shift to renewable energy strategically, the VP then creates a tactical plan to source new suppliers. And finally, the factory manager creates an operational plan for the Tuesday morning shift. It's all connected.
All right, Section 3, the strategic coherence story. Let's connect the dots.
So far, we've looked at concepts kind of side by side.
But in reality, these isolated terms form a single, coherent narrative of business performance. None of this exists in a vacuum. Let's look at the coherence loop and see how these concepts build into an unbreakable cycle. It starts with your mission, which directly dictates your strategy. Your strategy then drives your implementation. Your implementation yields your actual performance metrics. And finally, those metrics create a feedback loop that forces you to evaluate and potentially reformulate the whole entire loop. Think about it. If performance drops, the feedback loop tells the CEO, hey, did we implement this poorly, or was the strategy just completely wrong to begin with?
This brings us to a really rigid line you must draw in your mind for the exam. Strategy formulation versus strategy implementation. Formulation is the thinking, the planning, those intense boardroom debates. Implementation is the doing, the executing, the daily grinding out of results. And listen to me, the greatest, most brilliant formulation in the world will completely fail without ruthless implementation. Let's move to Section 4, Real-World C-Suite Decisions. Let's shift gears and apply these theoretical frameworks to modern megacorporations. I want us to look at actual strategic decision-making in the wild to see how this plays out for multi-billion-dollar companies. These three incredibly famous corporations brilliantly illustrate our core concepts in action. Look at Apple. They leverage a distinctive competency in industrial design and user ecosystem integration. I mean, nobody does it exactly like them. Amazon took a massive resource, their warehouses, and turned it into a dynamic capability of operational logistics and AWS cloud dominance. And Tesla? They rely on a bold, overarching vision, accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy, which literally informs every single strategic and tactical move they make.
As the old business saying goes, a strategy is only as good as the operational execution behind it. Think about Costco or Netflix. Costco's strategy of low-margin, high-volume membership retail, that only works if everyday operational decisions, like exactly how pallets are stacked or how checkout lines are managed, relentlessly align with that strategic core. Netflix's pivot from mailing DVDs to streaming was a massive strategic formulation, but it required unbelievable technical operational execution to actually succeed.
Section 5, CSCA Exam Essentials.
All right, I need everyone's full attention right here. We are now entering the mind of the CSCA examiner. You need to know exactly how these concepts are tested, not just how they work in the boardroom. CSCA exam tip: beware the scenario-based distractors. Seriously, the examiners are going to give you complex, paragraph-long scenarios about fictitious companies, and they are going to try to trick you with overlapping definitions. You have to be able to cut through all that noise and identify the core strategic principle at play. So here are the really common traps you're going to see. First, confusing core versus distinctive. If the prompt says a company is proficient at something, that's a core competency. If it explicitly says they outperform the industry standard, boom, that's distinctive. Second, misidentifying tactical as strategic. Pay attention to the timeline. If a decision spans 6 months and affects one specific department, it's tactical. If it spans 5 years and shifts the entire business model, it's strategic. Third, misaligning mission and vision in case studies. Pay super close attention to whether the company in the prompt is looking at who they are today or who they want to be tomorrow.
Furthermore, when you're performing a situational analysis on the exam, you need a perfect 50-50 balance. 50% of your focus must be on the internal environment. That's your resources and capabilities. The other 50% absolutely must be on the external environment, the market, the macroeconomic factors, and the competitors. If a scenario shows a company only looking inward, the examiner is strongly hinting at a strategic blind spot. Don't miss that hint.
Finally, Section 6, Unit Summary and Reflection.
We've covered a tremendous amount of ground today, moving from basic definitions all the way to executive applications. Let's wrap up this masterclass explainer by consolidating all this deep conceptual teaching into rapid, actionable takeaways. Here are your 10 critical takeaways for the exam. 1. Strategy is your architecture. 2. Resources are what you have. Capabilities are what you actually do. 3. Core is good, but distinctive wins. 4. Mission is today, vision is tomorrow. 5. Strategic is long-term, tactical is medium-term. 6. Formulation is thinking, implementation is doing. 7. The coherence loop demands constant feedback. 8. You have to balance your internal and external analysis. 9. Cascading alignment from the CEO all the way to the floor manager is key. And 10. Ultimate execution is what drives performance.
Okay, let's force some active recall right now. Rapid fire. 1. Define distinctive competency. It's what you do better than your competitors. 2. What links strategy to performance? That's implementation. 3. Differentiate tactical from strategic? It comes down to time horizon and organizational level. 4. What generates strategy reformulation? The feedback loop from actual performance. 5. Why separate formulation and implementation? Because a fantastic plan means absolutely nothing without the ability to execute it.
I'll leave you with this final executive reflection. Step into the role of the master architect right now. If you were the CEO of your current company, what is your firm's true distinctive competency? What happens to your bottom line if your daily operational plans completely ignore the founding mission? And most importantly, how will you, as a strategic leader, ensure absolute alignment from top to bottom? Keep those questions burning in your mind as you continue your CSCA journey. Best of luck, and keep thinking like an executive.